In today's modern, sophisticated society, people look to the ability to think clearly, succinctly, logically, to help them in the world to make themselves and others potentially, right, or if if only themselves a better person. Wouldn't life be easier if people could just think more clearly, right? Wouldn't you want to understand the difference between fact and fiction, between truth and lies? How can we come to understand truth and the differences of what is truth and untrue in the real world today? When we look at the world, we see that it's full of false arguments, bigotry, conflict, fake news, divisiveness, exploitation, prejudice, blame, shouting, and there's this problem of the mind attention spans. People have such little attention spans in life, the way they see reality. With people caring more for, videos on YouTube than murder, genocide, or rape. Is the logic dead, the way we see things? When the nature of arguments, it becomes clear that in our society today, things are perpetuated in black or white categories of distinction, and the gray areas they. And so, what do I mean by that? Well, you have things like whites or non-whites, right? Or black or white, or racist and non-racist. Things that we look in society to become very simplistic, fabricated, dramatic statements for effect, their impact of a claim in our effort to get some form of celebrity limelight status wherever we go. The competition that we have and with advertising is attempting to retrieve each individual's attention span in an effort to combat life and illogical thinking, particularly individuals worldwide. With those individuals worldwide, logic becomes an instrumental tool that's used to assist to a better understanding of the emotional world we live in and the connection between logic and the emotions in our lives. When we view logical rational thinking, particularly by individuals worldwide, logic becomes an instrumental tool that defines a better understanding of the emotional world we live in and gives us a connection and gap in our lives for us to use on a daily basis. Logical rational thinking, this system of logic that we use in our daily lives, it consists and influences us to make more consistent, intelligent decisions in our lives, in the lives of individuals around us and in the world. When we examine problems that exist in the arguments in the real world today, a lot of individuals have rather quickly, with no time, built or try to build a complex argument. And individuals who try to build a complex argument today, because of their short attention spans, they have difficulty tremendously to make any form of logical thinking, and a lot of it is irrelevant today. If we look at individuals today, we get to the point, many individuals want us to get to the point of an argument immediately, others will lose sight, and it's most evident that most people will lose sight of the essence of the argument of which it is used. And given the average attention spans of individuals, it's also decreased so rapidly that given the way of technology's advancements today, people don't have the ability to think. Logic has become a language in and of itself. It can also be, it's also argued too. It's interesting to think about that there is a way to communicate. There is a language in which it develops to which you can communicate and build up and follow complex logical arguments because of the intelligence or the intellectual person who uses it. Using logic makes you an intellectual to some extent. So few people can distinguish themselves in society and the way they view living sheepish lives, boring. They live uneventful lives in which other people then step out of the main situation and challenge themselves and others in their own reality. When we give the necessary and we see the necessary tools of logic, individuals learn to alleviate their problems and rationalize by means of embedding their own lives and other people's lives through the process. And what I mean by that, you have ideas such as the law of modus ponens, right? A, B, therefore B, or they say X, Y, therefore Z, or X, Y, therefore Y. And there's other laws that are used, many laws that are described in logic that help people really see through things. And I may bring the point too of politics. There's a lot of straw man fallacies. There's a lot of red herrings. There's a lot of logical devices that once you begin to recognize, help you assist in the politics. Now, I know this title can for many people be deceiving, how to think in the world, but this is how to think critically and logically, how to examine your life in this world and make it better, how to see things more from an open perspective and view the reality of which you yourself live in. So, knowing these things, if we were to set apart an argument, right, into its outer layers, or boil an argument to its essence, we realize that it helps us understand who we are as individuals, in particular, how logic can help us get to understanding why we disagree with other people on certain topics. Rather than just simply arguing or making it very simplistic, it's good to set ground rules, and it's good to distinguish exactly what it is the purpose or the point of the argument, what leads from this argument, and how can it be resolved in the reality in which we live in the world. We live in a very illogical world where people don't really care using logic, but it's good to combine our reason and our rationale with our logic, so that in this given busy world, right, people are constantly stimulated. It's best to sit down, relax, and think through our problems in life and how to solve them and make our lives better. Logic in our lives can easily be connected as human beings, and we use this to logically construct in our minds arguments to benefit ourselves individually and collectively as a group. But when you look at the language of logic, there's this idea of pedantry, right? Doing something so obsessively for no purpose or avail. That does exist in logic. And then we also have the idea of precision, which is narrowly focusing on one particular topic. So there's the idea of having a light focus outward, right? Or inward. And in our society today, we have adults who have developed the ability to simply basically relax themselves from figurative language. And they become so precise in doing this that they can't really move forward, right? They need to do this to move outward and forward with their lives. And it becomes apparent that the more thought, words, and actions are needed, but thinking logically and critically about things, it's considered unacceptable today in society. In today's society, we have memes, we have sound bites, and we have supposed quote-unquote mic drops that we use. But when we say things with impact, right, there should still be more of an intellectual thing. Telling the truth should be just as important as not telling the truth. It should be more important than not telling the truth. And speaking the truth itself should have more of an impact, so that in today's constant society of technological crutch, we could then relieve ourselves of its problems. I think it's important then that we distinguish logic and how it should be used, and we should look forward to how logic should be ascribed in our daily lives. And I feel like it's good to use an example. Here's a perfect example. So there's been a lot of debate, there's been a lot of topics recently about one of Donald Trump's presidential candidates of the Supreme Court. I think it's been Ben Cavagnou. I remember his exact last name. But anyway, there's been a lot of discussion, there's been a lot of debate, and I feel like one good way of actually seeing the situation is seeing what he actually did, figuring out what he can actually do, and figuring out the solution or some form of solution as to how you can go about solving that dilemma. So I think one good idea for that is to actually look at each particular premise, right? See what he went into, how he went to the office, what he did, his knowledge base, his experience in the field, and compare that with the allegations and assumptions that are made on him from the Trump presidency and from other perspectives. Now that would take time, that would take some research, but it would be well worth understanding compared to just simply believing the information on the media that's given to people. Many people are so easily influenced by emotions that it's very hard for them to even see the reality of which they live in within the world, and how to really resolve those problems and issues, and how to really think about the circular logic that people go through. Because many people just argue what's on top of their mind without actually reasoning why it is they think what they do and how it is that they can actually go about resolving it. That's a big issue, I think, in today's society, and with the internet and the way we look at the world today. I think it's important that people actually go about learning and establishing themselves, and logic is just one tool to help them really reason and rationalize. It's anything as simple as, why do they say what they say? How do we break down their argument? We take one point, we take another point, we take the various points and we label them. We can write them down on a piece of paper or within our minds, establish a truth table, establish what is the means of communication that they're trying to portray, establish their argument, establish their principle. Or you can say, right, premise 1, premise 2, and then the conclusion, and then verify through truth tables, if that's actually true. A truth table essentially is saying is what is the falsity, right? We have valid and invalid arguments. We have sound and unsound arguments. We also have various forms of logical paradoxes that exist in logic. We have the various communications. We have semantic, symbolic, all these different forms of logic that exist. I'm just covering general logic in this particular video, and I just want to introduce people to how to really rationalize and use that in their lives. Is how do you think about these arguments and connect them in the real world? And the only way to really do that, the only way to really connect them, is to use them in real life examples. So go out there today, go out in this world, and actually use these examples, use these ideas, right? Look at the logic that I was explaining to you. Look at the premises, look at the conclusions, and use these as a means to which you can communicate in your lives through people, through what you do, and see the valid forms and invalid forms of arguments people use today. And it's very simple. You just have to go on your computer, read a book, and you can see fallacies every single day, everywhere. People commit fallacies every day, nonstop. Sometimes it's even annoying for me to even look at the fallacies that are committed on a daily basis. But with all that said in mind, I hope you guys like this video. And if you do like this video, please subscribe below on my YouTube channel, The Love of Wisdom. Thank you for watching. Sorry for this late video. I plan on updating possibly maybe once or twice a week. But if you do like this, please comment, please subscribe below. And this is Love of Wisdom. My name is Anthony Pensa. Thank you guys, and have a beautiful day.